I will now call the August 28th, 2024 Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. This agenda was posted in compliance with the open meeting law, and all members are in attendance. And a quorum is established. Please join me in standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The first item on the agenda is the initial public comment period. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. And if there's anyone in the audience who would also like to speak at this time, they can please come forward.
Hi, my name's Bryn Delormier, and I actually came here to speak on 2 items. Is it all right to speak on the Bureau of Reclamation Admin Building Garden tonight?
Only items on the agenda can be part of this public comment period. We'll have a public comment period at the end for anything.
Okay, so I can speak on that at the end?
Yes.
Okay, then in that case, I'd like to speak on item 2 for 647 Avenue F. And I already wrote in about that, but I'd just like to add, in addition to that, so I live in the historic district on Avenue F. I own 2 homes on Avenue F, and one I bought before the historic preservation ordinance was passed, and the other I bought a year ago. So I wrote a letter in support of that. I think that's in your agenda packet. And I'd just like to add to that, there are a lot of disconnects in the ordinance between how it's written and how it's implemented. And just one example of that, I noticed when I bought my own home, my second home a year ago, it wasn't disclosed to me anywhere that there was a historic preservation ordinance. I already knew it because I owned one home there, but for new home buyers coming in, they don't really have a way of knowing that there is an ordinance there. They don't necessarily know that they have to follow this. And I just saw this with one home that was listed a block over from me, I think it is. The realtor's advertising it as no HOA, as in you can do whatever you want with it, which, I know is not the case, but whomever buys that house isn't necessarily going to know that. And new homeowners only know what they know. So I'd just like to add that to the record. So with the exception of fix and flippers, who I do believe buy a lot of homes in our neighborhood, and I have seen them buy contributing homes, rip out the windows, the historic windows. I've run around to all those properties trying to ask, did you already get rid of the windows? Yes, they have. They've thrown them away and added vinyl windows. And they seem to be doing this at a lot of the properties in the neighborhood. But with that exception, I believe that new homeowners coming in, I think they want to do well. They are generally adding nice additions to the neighborhood. I think they want to do well, but again, they only know what they know. And I don't think real estate agents are disclosing this to them from what I've seen. And I do look at all the listings for our neighborhood. So thank you for hearing my comments, and I'll be back at the final one. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there are no other comments either online or in the audience, we will move on to our first agenda item. Oh, Hi.
Hi, I'm John Madrid, a resident here, and I live in a historic home. And I'd just like to make sure and confirm with all of you that I don't know the exact numbers, but it appears that the number of historic homes are going down. And it seems like the historic home number should be going up because the homes are getting older. And so why is that? Maybe you can explain it to me, but, and if something needs to be done, maybe the city needs to help out some of these homeowners and say, hey, you know what? Let's preserve your home. Let's help out with this and that. Because otherwise, every home around here, I've seen it happen in a lot of places where next thing you know, the land's worth more than the old home. They bulldoze it down and you've got this modern architectural wonder and the character is gone. And if that's what you want, that's what we're headed for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we are done with comments. We will now move on. I'm sorry?
Are we going to be able to talk later, or is this the time for us to speak?
I'm not sure who you are.
My name is Kathy Josh.
Is this public comment period during the public hearing part?
So, under item 2, if you're here for 647 Avenue F, there will be a public comment period during that agenda item.
I'm here for the rocks that they put on the farm.
Yeah, so, Madam Chair, just to remind the audience, this first public comment period is for items on the agenda only, but there will be a public comment period at the end of the meeting where the public can comment on anything.
Okay, thank you, Michael. All right, moving on to the first agenda item for possible action, approval of the minutes of the July 24th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes for August 24th.
July
July
24th.
24th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Second item on the agenda for possible action, matters pertaining to a certificate of appropriateness for 647 Avenue F.
All right, good evening, members of the commission. Akeisha Lyon, City Planner with the Community Development Department. Item number 2 is for determination and consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for 647 Avenue F in regards to a porch addition on the front facade of the single-family dwelling located on this property. 647 Avenue F is within the city's historic district and has been deemed as a non-contributing property based on the 2020 architectural resource assessment that was done. Defined in Chapter 27 of our city code, a non-contributing property is a building, site, structure, or object that's located within a historic district, which does not add to the district's sense of time, place, and historic development, but may contribute in other aspects and characteristics such as mass, scale, streetscape features, setbacks, or proximity to contributing structures. Built in 1931 in the National Folk architectural style, multiple alterations have occurred to the home since its original construction, such as the removal of its original siding, window removal and replacement, and a large addition to the north side of the home. Therefore, the building no longer retains integrity of design, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. Earlier this year, the Community Development Department was made aware of the construction of a front porch to the home, and upon research found that this improvement was done without the necessary certificate of appropriateness review and approval, as well as building permit review and approval. City's Code Enforcement Division made the property owner aware of their nonconformance with city requirements, and the property owner applied for the necessary permits to remedy the situation. Per Chapter 27 of City Code and the associated Certificate of Appropriateness matrix, this type of improvement requires an administrative certificate of appropriateness to be granted, which is traditionally processed by staff internally. The applicable criteria that the addition must conform to includes the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, as well as the adopted design guidelines. City staff, we've coordinated with Historic Preservation Officer and Consultant Courtney Mooney for compliance review regarding this addition. So starting on page 22 of the agenda packet, Mooney's review indicates that this proposed addition does not fully comply with the applicable Secretary of Interior standards, as the already constructed front porch significantly impacts the historic character of the home, as no porch was present on the home originally. Additionally, the wood and steel materials and details used for the porch are modern in design, which is in contrast to the original stucco material of the home, and the porch is not compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features of the home, nor others of its type. Starting on page 119 of the agenda packet, the applicable design guidelines that were adopted at the time of the building permit submittal. If you review those in chart 5C, this shows that the front porch does not meet the guidelines, which states that a covered screen porch should extend the length of one side and across half of the front facade with a centrally located entry. However, with that, this specific guideline is for a different type of National Folk Style house that originally contained a wraparound porch. So again, 647 Avenue F was originally designed with a symmetrical facade containing a central door flanked by 2 windows and no porch. So on the screen, let me go back. So this is the front facade of the home prior to the improvement. And then the next 2 slides are photos of the front porch that is in question. All other zoning and building requirements have been met, as the applicable design guidelines do not clearly provide a policy for how to treat National Folk Style homes that were built without a porch. Staff and our consultant, Courtney Mooney, deemed it appropriate to move this application forward to the commission for review and approval, which is allowed and denoted within Chapter 27 of our code. The application has been noticed in accordance with city code, and the city has received a total of 8 written public comments in support of the front porch addition. These comments start on page 124 of the agenda packet, and then 4 additional comments were provided at the dais, which we received after publication of the packet. To summarize, the comments denote that the home was in an immense state of disrepair for many years and was not properly maintained as a rental property. And since the new property owner acquired the property in 2023, the appearance overall has greatly improved, and this addition has contributed to that. They found that the addition does add to the overall character of the other homes, as well as the district that's along Avenue F. So the request before the commission tonight is to review the application and make a motion to approve or deny this certificate of appropriateness application based on the findings as denoted in the motion language on page 14 of the agenda packet. The building permit applications, drawings, and plans, those have been included in the packet starting on page 15. City staff, as well as Courtney Mooney, we are available for any questions that the commission may have, as well as the property owner, Travis Rowe. He's present, and he can answer any specific questions that you may have in regards to the improvement. Thank you.
You may have said this, but I have a question. Does it meet other code compliance as far as setback and height and?
Yes, that is correct. It does meet the other code requirements.
I couldn't find it, but is there supposed to be a railing at all attached to it? Is it in fact a porch or a patio?
There is no railing attached to it.
Or is
We
that
would still
planned?
consider it a front porch for our code requirements. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
And I understand this house is a non-compliant?
It's a non-contributing structure.
Non-contributing, okay, thank you.
Does anybody want to make any comments?
Looking through the package, before I got the additional 4 homeowners that live in the area, it seems like the neighbors are for this project. And since it's not contributing project, I am in agreement with whatever their neighbors think, because that's, if it doesn't have to meet the criteria of the housing ordinance, and the neighbors say it's okay, and it's not an eyesore to them, I wouldn't think that there would be a problem, since it is non-contributing project.
Chairman Davenport? It would be appropriate before the commission's deliberation to have the applicant come up, answer commission questions, and then open the public hearing, and then close the public hearing, and then you can bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Thanks, Keisha. Would the owner like to come forward and offer anything, or I don't think I have any questions.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yeah, so I'm the owner of 647 Avenue F. I've lived here 30 years. I've owned 4 properties in the area. I've remodeled all of them. All I'm trying to do is make the community a better place, make my house a better place. I buy these houses that are in disrepair. I spend lots of money on them. I fix them up myself, and then I sell them, and I move on to the next one. So all I feel like is I'm trying to just make the community a better place. Like you said, all the neighbors have been in well of support. I think you said you had 8 people reach out. I'm sure there's a lot more that haven't reached out that have come by and, said I'm doing a good job and they like what I'm doing with the property. The property was in very bad shape when I got it. It still is in bad shape. I've stopped all work on it since the city, came after me, and now I put in the application. I've done all the engineering. I complied by all the code requirements. So, like I said, I just want to make it a nice, addition to the community. So,
Chairman Davenport, if we can have the speaker state his name.
Travis Rowe. Travis Rowe.
Thank you. Are your other properties within the historic district that you've worked on?
No, and I was unaware that this property was in the historic district until I found out. I didn't sign anything saying I was supposed to comply with the historic district. I bought the house. I was never told anything until I had to actually until the city reached out to me. I had to do a bunch of research and then figure it out. So I feel like if a home is purchased in the historic district, there should be a packet, or they should have to, sign something saying they're going to comply with that. I was unaware. What am I supposed to do? And it goes right down the back of my alley. I think a lot of people would be surprised that they are in that historic district. And per the ARA, the Architectural Resource Assessment, the picture from my house that's on there is from 1980. So it looks nowhere near what it looked like in the 1930s when it was originally built, and it's been renovated probably at least 3 or 4 times. And I'm just like I said, just trying to make it better.
I guess I have a question for you. If you knew, or this is for future knowledge for the commission, and that is we're supposed to assist the community and homeowners within the historic district of what they should do, or offer some assistance. The city as well, of course, does that as well. But if you had known that, I guess, is that something you think that would help would that have helped you, or do you think that would help homeowners?
Yeah, of course. I didn't know that I was breaking any rules. I built everything to code. I tried to abide by the city code as much as I could, and built it the way it should be. But yeah, I didn't see any guidance, or I didn't. Like I said, I just didn't know. So
Understand.
I have a question.
sure.
When you finish this home, are you going to live in it? Or
Yes.
you're going to live in it? You're
Yeah.
not going to sell it or rent it?
No, I plan on living in it
Living in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've lived in all my houses for, I would say on average at least 4 years. But I'm not quick flipping it.
Okay.
I do all the work myself. I grew up doing construction in Boulder City ever since I was a kid, so I just have done renovations all myself. So it takes me a long time to do it, but I just do it myself. And then once it's nice, I don't plan on selling it. I plan on keeping it.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Anybody else have questions, or? It's okay.
So on one of the letters from your neighbor or from yourself, it was a safety issue of the front of the house with the way it was before you added the roof on it, was hot, even to the touch. So I can understand you putting that, is it called a gable or just a roof
Yeah.
on top of it just for that alone? So I think that safety source, or that, just making changes for that alone should be okay. The other question I had was about the permit. I think you said, or someone said, that it wasn't permitted at first, and then you did rectify that and get a permit to
Yeah.
bring it up to code.
Yep, I got a permit and I got engineering and everything's up to code and it's just waiting for an inspection.
Okay.
So,
Am I out of?
No, Chairman Davenport, just a point of order and clarification. So he's submitted for a permit, but he cannot receive, the city cannot issue the permit until the certificate of appropriateness is approved. So he's submitted and everything's on hold, and if the commission approves the certificate of appropriateness and he meets all the building code requirements and inspections, at that point, the city can then approve the permit.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I was just going to say, so if you would have gotten a permit to start with, it would have alleviated all of this, because it would have been, you wouldn't have been able to start construction, correct?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a question for Michael? That's generally when homeowners, if they're in the historic district and they apply for a permit, then they are given instructions on the historic nature of their home.
That is correct.
Guidelines and-
When permits are submitted, staff reviews, we verify whether a property is within the historic district. We communicate that back to the property owner and what regulations would apply as part of that review of a building permit.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Do you have any questions for us?
Nope.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
The only thing I was going to add is that there are 4 properties in the vicinity, 2 directly next door on that same block that are contributing, and then 2 directly across the street that are contributing to the historic district. And I appreciate the comments from those homeowners of those contributing properties. But to address the public comment of why the historic district is, their quantity of historic properties are diminishing, this is one of those reasons where either folks are not getting the permits and then getting that information, realtors aren't getting that information out, the Historic Preservation Commission and the city isn't getting the word out about the benefits of historic preservation. So just wanted to address that comment from the audience.
I have one more question. Have all the neighbors been notified of this, or does that happen after when does that happen?
Yes, this has been publicly noticed in accordance with city code. It would be neighbors within a 300-foot radius.
Okay, great.
Do I have a motion regarding this?
Chairman Davenport, we still need to hold the public hearing.
Oh, sorry. That's right, thank you. Do we have, we now open up the floor for public hearing. Phone number is 702-589-9629, or there's opportunity for folks in the audience to come forward and speak. Thank you.
My name is Bill Rowe, and this young man is my son. I worked with him, I'm a landscape architect, and I worked with him to try and save that huge, beautiful tree that was in that first picture. But we cut so many roots when we were trying to do the grading. The pathway to the front door was offset, and we wanted to speak to the, symmetry of the building and just bring that path straight out. And when we did that, we cut a bunch of roots, and then when we cut the driveway in, we cut a bunch more roots. It was my opinion that the whole thing would have fallen over in a big wind. So I think we made an effort to do that. Since it had to come out, he's planted 2 trees and he plans on planting a couple more. I think he's trying to improve things. That's my opinion.
My name is Kathy Dosh, and I've lived here since 1976. I would like to know when the historical, and I bought a house on Colorado Street in 2008. No one ever said I couldn't do something. I never knew that I would have to ask to do something. I wanted to keep my house. You know, the windows were already taken out. And the ones that weren't, I kept. So I'd like to know when all this started, because there's even houses on Colorado Street that one I'm thinking of has a horrible addition, 2 big boxes on the back of that house. And I think it's awful that the city allowed that to happen. And my other, I have with what they did up here with the rocks, it's horrible. You go down, I thought about Dawn Wingert lived, the house that she lived in on Nevada Way. I thought about buying that house. I'm so glad I didn't, because poor Brandon, his view is totally blocked. It's horrible what they did. And I don't know why the city who was in charge of that. And I just think they waited too long for people to say there's a historical district. If I bought my house in 2008 and nothing was ever said to me, like this gentleman, that it was, I mean, I know it's to me it's historical because it's right up here in the brick houses, and it was built in 1932, and I love my home. But nothing was ever said to me about what I could do or what I couldn't do. And I think that's the part that's not right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Robin Baker. We bought a house on Colorado Street in 2021. I think it was 2021. Anyway, at that time, we were not informed. We knew it was in the historic area, but we were not informed that there were any qualifiers. And so we began the process of applying for a grant when Michael was in a different position. And at the time we started, there were things that needed, none of the windows in the house had opened, so there were reasons that we felt like we needed to move ahead, because it's a little challenging to live in a house that has no windows that open on the main floor. So because of COVID illnesses within the city staff and vacations, we started in May. Our request for a grant was not held until November. And between that time, we learned a lot about historical preservation, period. But the more important thing that I think applies to this situation is that you have hired an expert to create a document that gives the guidelines of how you're to look at houses and how you're supposed to make judgments whether they are historical properties or not and meet specifications. At the time we were going through the process, it was, well, I think, and our big argument was over windows. We had a picture that showed our windows as split, but they were not 6-pane. I recognize in the neighborhood there's a lot of 6-pane windows, but each house in that neighborhood theoretically was designed with special elements. And so our picture differed from Courtney's picture. at the end of the day, it was not worth the discussion because there weren't any firm guidelines. And when I understand the position that you ladies and gentlemen are in, that you have to go by the letter of the law. And when there is not a document that specifies exactly what the letter of the expectation is, how can you make judgments? So I empathize with you guys because nobody came and told us. And we talked about at that time, if Blair remembers, I'm sure it's frustrating, that the realtor should inform you. Or when you go to the city, somebody should inform you. But nobody does. And you're expected as new individuals to the community, so I'm surprised that these guys have lived here so long, and the information still is not available for public knowledge. And I don't want to point fingers, but I'm hoping that this year, maybe you guys can make a change with that, because these houses have value. That historic community has value. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Not every house has the opportunity to be as beautiful as it once was, and it doesn't appeal to everybody. But if you can maintain it to some degree, why do we not do that? That's my question. Why do we not do it? It is not difficult to share information. Employees of the city share information about permits, what you can do, what you can't do, the timelines, and they don't choose not to share information, but there's a lot of information that is not shared. And I don't think it's their choice. I think it's lack of knowledge or opportunity or time. But those are all things that can be taken care of and should be addressed. So I'm assuming that this is not the time to talk about the rocks. Is that right, Blair?
Correct.
I'll be back.
Wait till the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Afternoon, committee. Mr. Mays. I am Brandon Smith, and I also own a historic home here in Boulder City. And I would just like to express my interest in having the committee a little more involved in the purchase and or selling process of the homes in our historic district. When I purchased my home here in BC, it was pretty hard to figure out that it wasn't in the historic district because there was no mistaking it for anything but. My agent, which I didn't have at that time, but I did have an agent trying to procure other properties in the city, which were also in the historic district. But there was no direct correlation between choosing what may or may not have been in the historic district, a home that was or wasn't contributing. So I can sympathize with your lack of knowledge of knowing that it was in the historic district. I had to actually go through the process, and I've done all I can do to actually try and find out more about my homes. But it wasn't readily available. I think that maybe we need to engage our real estate agents a little more directly and make sure that if maybe you just make it a thing that once a week somebody scans the MLS and sees what homes have gone up for sale, and then, oh, hey, that's in our historic district. Hey, that's contributing or that's not contributing, and reaches out to the agent. And so the agent is very well aware of how they can portray the home that they're trying to sell. Because you wouldn't know otherwise. Nobody seems to hand that off. I've been here years now. I've never gotten a packet from anything to do with the Preservation Committee unless I've requested it myself. And I think that's a bad precedent to set. Probably everybody who walks into town and certainly who has purchased within the historic district should be handed like a little, hey, welcome to Boulder City thing. hey, lucky you, your home is in the historic district. It is or is not contributing. These are the rules and regulations to do with the purchase of your home. Sorry if you weren't aware. Your agent should have been a little more on top of things. Here you go. Or I'm sure you're going to be happy with your historic home. Please continue to maintain it in a way that helps us preserve our historic nature of the city itself. And I think until that time comes where you guys are actively engaging new individuals in town, or even not new individuals in town who are purchasing in the historic district, I think you guys really need to throw that down and make that part of what you guys do. Because otherwise, people are going to do what they do. They don't know. Ignorance is bliss. And you've lost another home off the list. And I think that doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve the homeowner. Certainly doesn't help preserve our historic nature or our historic designation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, John Madrid again. Tagging along with what Brandon was requesting, I actually have some experience in real estate as a broker. And I would ask you if you guys could put a motion together and create a document. You could say, we want to create a document which will include two things. One, a map of the city, and then the specifications for a historical home, which you probably already have in stock, okay? But once you did that, if you created that document and then distributed it, because there's not that many real estate brokers here in town, but you could distribute it to the MLS and they could distribute it to the individual brokers. All right, and then what would happen then is anytime anybody buys a home in this Boulder City area, real estate brokers and agents have a responsibility, and it's called disclosures. And if they don't disclose something, then that's big problems for them down the road. So maybe that might be a solution so that, here's the guy right here trying to fix our city up. And guess what? You're messing him up. You're costing him money, and it's not fair to him. So, that's what I'm going to ask you guys to do either tonight or soon, and say, hey, we're going to create a map and a document, give it to local MLS, and say, we need some disclosures. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience?
I'm Brian Sargent. I've been a longtime resident of Boulder City, and I just want to say that I love our little town. I love our limited growth ordinance, and I hope we can keep it that way. But, I think we can say that probably 80 or 90% of Boulder City is historic. It's kind of unique. But as time goes on, I just don't like that a certain few individuals can say, all right, this is what we like, this is what we want for everybody. And, I think we just need to, we all can interpret what's historic in our own different way. I think historic is old stone buildings and old block buildings, but wood stick frame buildings, people can interpret what's historic to them in their own way. So I think it's great when we upgrade homes. A lot of homes are old, and like Travis is trying to do, he wants to make the community better. So I'm for certain changes, but, we just need to keep an open mind, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? I will close public comment. And now we open it up for additional discussion, if necessary. Okay. I believe you had a question.
Can we require agents to give that information? Can we require the agents to give that information? Because that would be absolutely helpful.
I am not at all clear on what we and/or the city can say or do or recommend or require of realtors or developers. Excuse me.
How do we get that information? Because that's very important.
So as the commission will recall, with the adoption of the new historic preservation ordinance and the subsequent design guidelines, the city now has on the website the interactive map so that any property owner within the historic district can click on their property and find out the status of their property. And certainly, one of the things that we can do is provide that link to all real estate agents so that they know of the historic district and they, on behalf of their client, can review the status of that property. I'm not aware of anything that would allow the city to require a real estate agent to disclose that information. But certainly, we can make sure that they have that information available.
I do know that there is training for realtors on historic properties, and I'm not sure if that's a requirement of maintaining their license or not, or if it's an elective. I do know that there are municipalities in this country that offer trainings for realtors that I've had conversations with city staff about, and inviting, having maybe some kind of a workshop or an open house just for realtors to go over specifically what's historic and the criteria for rehabilitation and recommendations for preserving, homes within the historic district. And I still think we should do that. But there's more too. I mean, we do have Historic Preservation Day. There's Historic Preservation Month. We could definitely work to do more to get the word out to the community. I like some of the ideas that have come before tonight. Have been excellent. I think those are some really good things to consider. And I think it's something we could address at the end of this meeting, as far as, maybe a discussion at our next meeting on how we would move forward. So, it's a good idea. Any other discussions, or?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Mays. Would it be within our purview if the commission were to vote to ask the city council to pass a statute to have the brokers in town advise buyers and sellers of the statute? Would that be within our purview to do that?
Commissioner Baker, just 2 points. One, you can't take action on anything that is not agendized that would violate open meeting law. It would have to be a future agenda item. And then secondly, again, we'd have to evaluate with the city attorney whether that type of action can be legally enforced on real estate agents. I'm not aware of any state law that would allow a city to require that of real estate agents.
Thank you.
Yeah, the map that we have on our website, has that been put out to the community, like through the utility bill or anything like that, so they know that there's now an interactive map of the historical area?
Yeah, the communications manager for the city has been promoting that through various mediums about that availability. But again, we can do a direct target to real estate agents.
Okay, that may be helpful.
Any other discussions from the commission? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve or deny this request?
So I would like a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 647 Avenue F based on the findings that the proposed work complies with components of the Secretary of Interior standards and the city adopted designs, guidelines, and not applicable to proposed work for this building as structured without a porch are not addressed.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Anything up for discussion? I have a question. Could I offer another approval that states that I approve the certificate of appropriateness even though the proposed work does not comply with the Secretary of Interior standards or the city's adopted guidelines, because the project does not.
You're asking to modify the motion that's on the table.
Yes.
That would be up to the person who made the motion and the person who seconded it, whether they agree with your modification.
Okay.
From the testimonies that we heard, I would agree with that statement.
So are you making a motion?
I am making a motion to add that statement in.
Do I have a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do I need to repeat what I said? Okay. Thank you. All right, where are we now? Next item on the agenda, update on the implementation of the Commission's goals and priorities.
So on a monthly basis, staff provides the commission with an update in regards to the adopted goals and priorities. That is attached to item number 3, and those changes are indicated in bold on the matrix. Based on the direction that was given to staff at the last meeting, Goal 3.3 has been updated to denote that our Historic Preservation Officer and Consultant, Courtney Mooney, is moving forward with a determination of eligibility in regards to the old airport hangar property. And staff and Mooney, we are available for any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, that's great news. All right. Next item on the agenda, discussion, update on the status of properties in the historic district or other potentially eligible properties.
Okay, so also on a monthly basis, we provide a report on the status of historic preservation activities as it relates to building permits, awards, projects, and grants. The report for August has been included in the packets, starting on page 133. Under other activities, staff is currently working on arranging a meeting with the city of Henderson in regards to the American World War II Heritage Cities designation that we received, I think earlier this year or late last year. The intent of this meeting is to coordinate with them on how we want to jointly signify this designation throughout our communities, since it was a joint designation that we applied for together with the city of Henderson, as well as to hopefully present a few ideas to the commission for your input at a later meeting. And then based on the last meeting that we had, there was a request in regards to further information on the turf reduction projects that are occurring, specifically in the historic district. So at our next meeting in September, our utilities director for the city, Joseph Stubitz, he's going to be in attendance and will be providing an overview to the commission on the changes that are occurring in conformance with Assembly Bill 356 in regards to city parks and properties that are within the district. Additionally, the city is moving forward with repairing and replacing components of our municipal water management system. And as some of those manholes and valves, they are located within the historic district. So staff has notified SHPO earlier this year in regards to the scope of the work for this project. And we've requested comments from them as federal funds are being used to make those repairs. And then lastly, in regards to the Bureau of Reclamation and the landscape changes that have occurred at the administration building, I know previously they had requested to present the interpretive signage proposal that they had. They were supposed to come to the meeting in August. They'd push it out to September, but in recent emails that we've gotten from them late last night, based on the changes that they've made, they're still working with their contractor to get those finalized, and they're looking to possibly be on the agenda in October in order to present that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you happen to know, or I'm just curious if the work that's going on in the median, in the parking median in front of the police station, what that is? Does that have anything to do with the Escalante Park work?
That is to put in charging stations for the city's electric vehicles.
Okay. Is that a canopied charging station, or are they just these single standing charging things?
I believe the intent is to include shading for the vehicles, and we can share that with the commission with next month's report.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next item on the agenda, commission discussion regarding potential agenda items for the upcoming Historic Preservation Commission meetings.
Sorry, this is the commission's opportunity to collectively discuss what they would like to see for agenda items in future meetings that we have. Thank you.
I'd like to suggest that we discuss what I mentioned earlier, a two-prong approach, that we discuss possibilities of informing homeowners in the district in a more direct manner than we currently are, and at the same time come up with a question or a proposal or what have you for the city attorney to see if we could, in fact, if the city council could pass a statute that would notify brokers within the city limits of Boulder City.
Just seeking, Chairman Davenport, clarification on that request. You wouldn't need a formal action by the city council to inform real estate agents. We can do that. If the commission's intent is to somehow obligate real estate agents to disclose, that is where I would need to consult with the city attorney. And again, I don't believe there is any state law or local authority that could obligate us to require real estate agents to disclose. They follow their own requirements through state law.
Is there confusion that some folks think that the ordinance is the same thing as an HOA? And it's not.
I don't quite understand. I mean, we have laws and statutes that require companies and organizations to do certain things. And if the city were to pass a statute obligating brokers within the city limit to do certain things, certainly I think that would be within the purview of the law.
Chairman Davenport, again, if it's the commission's desire to have this agenda item, we can consult with the city attorney if the intent is to explore obligations on the part of real estate agents. And we can come back with that opinion next month.
Anyone want to add to that, or I think we do need that discussion.
Absolutely.
And I guess just to be clear, or to add for clarification, if we are requesting that the city attorney address if there is an obligation on the part of the city or on the part of realtors to divulge
Well,
historic preservation
Requirements.
requirements or,
well, it would be, I mean, I know, apparently there is no obligation now. We would be asking the city attorney if it would be appropriate to have the city council pass such a statute.
I don't know how to ask this request.
We have the same end goal, we're just going at it different ways.
Right. I think he's trying to make it legal where we're trying to make it informative. So, and I guess the question is for the city attorney, is there an obligation, is there a way to make it an obligation, I guess, on the part of realtors to divulge, not just the historic preservation ordinance, there's all of the ordinances in the city. I mean, which ones are they supposed to tell, are they obligated to tell realtors? I mean, to tell homeowners or purchasers, buyers? So.
Well, it's clarified that they would be obligated to tell the homeowners within the historic district that they are in fact in the historic district. I realize it's online, but not everybody has a computer. Not everybody who has a computer is savvy enough to know where it is and how to find out what's in the city and whatever and whatnot. So it would be up to in my proposal, the brokers would be obligated to tell homeowners within the district that they are in fact within the district, and that it's then their obligation to go online or call City Hall or somehow find out what is required of them.
Is that something we can ask of the city attorney to address?
Yes, we can get a response for next month.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, at the very least, can we as a commission do a workshop, either add that workshop to Historic Preservation Day or the quarter or the month, or something where we as a commission are reaching out to the district to just let them know what they don't know. Because apparently, like the gentleman came up and said that when he bought his house, he didn't know what the requirements were, that there were even any requirements. So I think at the very least, maybe we could hold a workshop to invite the homeowners to come here or wherever we decide, and we discuss it with the residents of what they need, what they do need, what's compliant, what's not contributing,
And what resources are available
and what
to
the
them. There's
resources
a lot
are.
of resources and money available.
Right?
So we were planning to bring back in October the agenda items starting the process for Historic Preservation Day. That could be part of the focus and discussion at that meeting and that agenda item.
Okay, I'd like to make sure that that gets on the agenda.
I definitely think at our next meeting, we should have kind of a plan in place so that when October rolls around, we maybe have a really good outline of how we're going to get that out there. So, because it's not just us, but I was just thinking there's someone here in the audience who's associated with the Chamber of Commerce, and they have a new homeowners packet, or I think there's something like that. And maybe we can loop them in, to the process.
I like the idea of a welcoming package to the new homeowner, because the district is historic.
Yeah.
And I don't know why a person wouldn't know that, but either way, when the realtor goes back to if they can or not, but just have that, or even somebody from the commission hand that welcome package and say, welcome, this is the, not necessarily do's and don'ts, but do you have any questions? Do you know about your house? What can we do to help you to
And I think some of that
keep
needs
the
to come prior
standards?
to them purchasing the house.
Absolutely.
Because maybe they have an idea of the architecture and what they would like to do to the house, but then when they see the guidelines, maybe that's something they don't want to go by. So that would be, I mean, a welcome packet would be fantastic, but even something prior to that from the brokers would be.
Right,
from
and that's
real
the
estate.
question that's out there, if we could do that or not.
Thank you.
And I think there are signs that delineate what's historic and what's not. And apparently, people don't even know what those signs are. I was asked the other day what the brown signs are versus the other signs. So there is a knowledge that needs to be carried out to residents.
Yeah, so certainly the commission will put an agenda item next month so you can discuss this item.
Even more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since
I do
this
have
agenda
something
item
else.
is only on future agenda items that you'd like to have on the list.
Okay. I do have another question in reference to what Nikisha had talked about, the BOR, and them coming in October. The question is, until that artwork is done, is that whole project open? And that would be the closure of that project? Or is that just something additional? Like, can we continue to talk about the BOR on the next agenda? I know it was supposed to be on this one, but because they couldn't come, we decided to push it down. I'd just like to know if, what closes that project out? What's the deadline to get our suggestions or comments in?
Is the question regarding the Bureau of Reclamation's interpretive signage
Yes.
aspect of the project?
Yes. Is that part of the actual project of the landscaping? Is that all one package, or is that?
Well, what we can do when the Bureau does move forward with their presentation before you, we can agendize it so you can also discuss the landscaping as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
I would like that. Thank you.
I have a suggested agenda item either for next month or in the near future, depending on the schedule, but there's a new, speaking of the Chamber of Commerce, a Main Street program, and it's just getting off the ground, and it'd be great to get a presentation from them as far as what the purpose of the Main Street program is, what are their projects coming up, and how can the Historic Preservation Commission work with them on those projects. So. Any other agenda items?
And maybe the railroad initiative, how that's going, how the museum's going?
Is that a separate agenda item, or?
I would think that would be separate.
So, yeah,
Since
and maybe,
he's normally here,
yeah, an update on the railroad project.
the museum.
Sounds
So
great.
just to clarify, at some future meeting, presentation by the Main Street Group to the Historic Preservation Commission, and a presentation by the Southern Nevada Railroad Museum, which we happen to have a non-voting member of the commission, could do a presentation on the status of the Railroad Museum project.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other potential agenda items for next month? Okay. All right, thank you. Where are we? All right, now is the final comment period for the evening. The public may call 702-589-9629. And there's an opportunity for folks in the audience also to speak.
Hi, Bryn Delormier, and I'm coming back to talk about the rocks now. So this is up at the Bureau of Reclamation Admin Building, and I'm sure everybody's seen, hopefully walked through it already. So rather than get into the major things they didn't do, I think you said they'd be here in October to address us. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. I've been walking up there every few days at night since they've been done with the garden project, allegedly. And I hope they don't wait till October to address some of these things that I'm going to go over, because I think everything they planted up there is going to die in the meantime if they don't. So a couple of the things I've noticed walking up there and going through the different pathways, all of their 1/4-inch irrigation tubing is lacking the end valves on it, what actually keeps it from like spurting out water. So I've been up there like right after it's been watered. I see all the trees completely drowned in water, and the things that are on the hill, they don't get watered at all. It just runs down. And some plants seem to be missing the 1/4-inch tubing altogether, so they're not getting watered at all. I've noticed the trees they've planted, they are pretty small. There's not enough of them, and they're not in the right places. Like, they should be shading the benches, the plazas, the pathways at a bare minimum. There's not very many of them. There's no mulch at their base, and I've noticed that a lot of their roots are exposed. So having been planted in the middle of the summer, I fear a lot of them are going to die. I've already noticed one that's completely dead. And then the existing plants, they all have rocks pushed right up to their base, which when you have 110-degree days like we've been having since they've been planted, the root balls just fry. So if you've noticed, a lot of the plants up there have already died. I've been going up, like I said, every few days. Every time I go up, I notice more and more plants have died. So hopefully that's something they can remedy before October, before everything dies, like rake back the rocks and put some mulch around the base of them. Or they could even add living ground cover, but just mulch would work. If they leave it like that, everything will be dead by October with the weather that we've got in the forecast for next week, for example. And hopefully they can eventually plant more. They can do that in the future. And then those are the small items. I think that could be fixed really easily and within a couple of days without a lot of money. Hopefully they plant more trees and plants eventually when the weather cools down. That can be addressed with them in October. But and then also the 2 larger items that I wanted to add: when you walk up that hill and take the left to go to that plaza with the Joshua tree in it, you do notice that, I'm sure everybody's noticed, those 2 large hills on either side of rocks that block the view of the building. Hopefully in October they can level that out a little bit so the building itself is more visible from, what is that, Park Street, I think. I think everybody probably agrees with that. And then I've noticed when I go up there at night, a lot of times I find pretty large rocks in the pathways that have fallen down the hill. So a lot of those hills are graded pretty steep, like the ones that actually go up to the building. Those are graded pretty steep. We haven't even had any hard rains yet, but I could imagine when we do, those rocks are all going to come tumbling down. So I worry that's a safety issue, and it should probably be graded at a less harsh grade. So those are the comments I've noticed. It's sad that it didn't come out like the design, but that's realistically what I hope they can address. So I think I emailed that to a couple of you with some photos that I took. So hopefully that can be sent to them. Hopefully they can address some of it. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Shanna Rowe. Travis is my son. Something I was thinking about is, as you were discussing his property, we were in a community recently where there were a lot of older homes, but they were not all included in their historic district. So I was thinking, okay, so how do they designate which is historic and which is not? Then the thought came to me, what if you, as a commission, contact city councils around the community, around the area. Like I said, I went to an area, it was out of state, they had their historic area, and talked to them. How do you designate this as a historic area and not this street that's 2 streets over, even though they're all older homes? What are some of the criteria that you use to designate it a historic home? And how is that information given out? How do people moving into that area know that that is a historic home and what they need to do if they are purchasing that home to continue to make it a historic home? Just an idea. Thank you.
Brandon Smith again. I have some photos that I might like to share with the committee. As there's seemingly no other way to get them up or represented. If I can just pass them along so that you guys can see them as they go by, it would make a big difference, I think. I have a few photos, which I'll just hold up for you really quickly. This was the original rendering for those at home who have never seen what the BOR's vision for that building was supposed to be. That's the original rendering and the only one that was actually shared with the city and the city council and the Preservation Society originally, before they screwed it up into a little ball and threw it out the window. This was taken by a drone about 2 hours ago, and this is what we got in place of this. So pretty stark contrast between the two. Maybe one day they'll be responsible for giving us what we asked for, or what they told us we were going to get. And in compliance with much of what Bryn said, I'm over there every day. It's just not a happy place to be. I'll show a couple quick photos again for the viewers at home. This was taken about 2 hours ago. Again, this is one of the 8 benches that are in the park. The seating part of the bench was 140 degrees, taken by a thermal camera. So not a very inviting place to go sit. Again, after last night's meeting, I took pretty close note as to the shading of the 8 benches that are in the park. There is no shade to any of the benches. Currently, maybe 10 years from now, half of the benches will have some shade. The other 4, there isn't a tree within 20 radial feet of the benches, so they'll never be shaded. And with global warming, maybe that 140 will be 160 or 180 degrees sometime in the future. To go along with my specific issue is I'm at 304 Nevada Way, for those who don't know. This was the thermal photograph taken from my home yesterday. You can see the mound, one of the mounds that Bryn was referring to in her speech. The thermal signature of that mound was 145.9 degrees. Just for reference, and all these photographs kind of corroborate what I'm saying. After last night's, I was present at last night's council meeting, which ran pretty late, you guys all know. I ran out, took some thermal pictures afterwards. It was 118 degrees after the sun had been down for 3 hours. And you can kind of see the difference. You can see the BOR building in the background here. You can see there was 118 degrees over here. The grass, a beautiful 71 degrees. So I'll let you guys just mull over those real quick. But I think what we need to do as a city, as a committee, as humans, is make sure the BOR is held accountable to both their promises, and they should really want to do the right thing by the city. It doesn't matter if they're a federal agency, they work for us. That's our tax money that they wasted. And quite frankly, if they wanted to make it look like the landfill that it looks like, I'm sure they could have done it for a lot less than $4.5 million and taken 15 months to do it. I think they owe us, as the historic city that we are, to bring back the historic character of that building that we've been looking at for 100 years, that they completely assassinated with their vision of, I don't know, the moon or whatever it is that they were trying to accomplish and signed off on. Like Bryn said, half the plants are dead already. I can't see them making through another couple of weeks if we hit 110 degrees again. Rocks are falling down. They haven't. There's no part of that site that seems to be off limits. You're going to get kids in that park that are trying to climb the small mountains of rock. I'm sure there'll be some broken ankles and maybe broken arms. But at the end of the day, again, the BOR, they fed us one thing, they've given us another, and it's time to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, just really quickly, I think it would be amazingly cool if Jill would like to get involved in this, is to maybe get some maybe some funding and just do literally a little welcome to Boulder City film that highlights some of the extraordinary features of Boulder City, not just at the historic district, but as a whole. I mean, this is one of the most important cities in the Western United States. I was quite unaware of just the magnitude of the importance of Boulder City was until I got here and took an interest in it. It's such a fascinating story, and I fear that people who are coming here from other places just have no idea, and maybe they do or don't take an interest when they get here. But maybe it's something that we could produce and make 10,000 of them, and every time a home goes out for sale, just have it as something at the, you get, hey, sign in for your sign-in sheet when you're walking through an open house. Get one of these super cool videos, because I think whether they bought that house that they were looking at, they might end up with something else going, wow, what a cool place this is.
Thank you.
So I'd
I
be happy
appreciate
to be
that.
a part of that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Carroll. I also own a historic house on Denver, and I also live with Brandon at 304, so I'm also across the street from the big hills and mountains of rocks. Just to piggyback on Brandon and Bryn, the heat that comes off, you can see it on those the visual of those pictures is pretty amazing, but if you just walk over there, even in the evening, as we did last night, you can feel, even with the sun gone, you can feel the heat just radiate off of it. And then as soon as you walk over across the street to the park where it's all green, the temperature just goes, it comes. It's so palpable. It's really phenomenal. Also, when we moved here, beautiful, everybody knows, green, clean, beautiful Boulder City. You drive through that main street and you see, the beautiful sign, historic Boulder City. You come through this amazing, adorable, cute little town with the restaurants and all that, and you drive past it, beautiful green park, and then this big brown blob that blocks the building. You can't even see the building anymore, and that's driving up. The first thing that you see is just this big mound of rocks. You don't see the benches or the little thing that they try to, the landscape, nothing. You just see big rocks. You don't see the building. It's an eyesore. It's like Brandon said, it's not what we were promised. The picture that they promised us was this relatively attractive desert scape that had trees, that had some green in it, and that is so not what we got. And when we started off, you didn't have these two big green hills, two big brown hills. We had, it was this beautiful green landscape that you could see the building from every angle, and now you can't. So it's an eyesore. It's not what we were promised. We need to hold them accountable. But even eyesore, just the amount of heat that it's throwing off just onto the city, onto our homes. Our homes are now that much hotter, all the ones that are surrounding it. Nothing good has come of this. And I just want to join the other voices. And all the voices, thank you for everybody who signed the petition so far. That's growing in number. At the very least, we just want what we promised. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, John Madrid again. Tag along with what they do. I have a question, maybe somebody can answer, and I'd like to get the answer right now. Was there an environmental impact report completed before that project was started?
We're not supposed to answer, but yes.
Okay, all right, so therefore, that's excellent. So surely that impact report had a mitigated plan for thermal heat that it'll be creating. So I would like to know, what is their plan to curb that heat? Are they gonna put up big air conditioners out there, or what? Okay, and the other thing too, I looked at the original rendering, which looks pretty green. Okay, well, my question is, who signed the contract for the demolition and the installation of the new landscaping? I don't know much, but I think there's programs around where every square foot of grass that you take out, you get $12. If they had a 10-acre piece, that's $4.5 million going into somebody's pocket. And there was a big sign that said, project financed by Joe Biden. So they didn't, the project was financed and somebody put $4.5 million in their pocket. And oh, by the way, based on the original rendering, do we have an itemized, something that somebody signed off, which says an itemized list of every plant that's in there to make it green like that rendering? If not, why not? And so that's my whole thing. I live in the area, and you know what? Our air conditioning bill's up. Is it because of that? Well, as Brendan said, it's, 8 o'clock at night, it's 140 degrees. I mean, would you want to live next door to a furnace? But yet somebody approved it. And so I agree with everybody said, we need to just find out what is their mitigation plan for, number one, making the green area. And number two, what's their mitigation plan for cooling the area down? The grass was, according to that thermal picture that Brandon had, was about 71 degrees. Fine. You guys figure it out. And if you have to take all those rocks out and everything and plant the grass back, fine. I'm okay with that. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Jill Megan, Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. This is the first time I've come to your meeting and had to leave with a to-do list. So thanks, Ms. Blair, and happy to do that for you too, Brandon. And so I'm so grateful that we have so much passion and that there are so many people who are paying attention. They want to do the right thing and they like to see the right thing done. I was one that sat on the multiple public hearings, public meetings that the Bureau held. They were on Zoom at the time, and so sat through a lot of different public comment opportunities and spent a lot of time, volunteered my time to do so. And I thought it was great that they held those. Granted, it's a checkbox that they have to do on their end. But, we dedicated the time to provide them information with the intent and the thought process that our voice would be heard, that we would at least have some say in some of the conversations. The pictures that we saw, they were beautiful, and so we understand that they have to, the Bureau of Reclamation, they're all about reclamation, conservation, we get that. We understand, and we want to be a part of that too. We all want to be good stewards of the environment. However, at the cost, at the point that we're at now, it's just costing us a bit too much. A lot of comments are happening in regards to this. There's a lot of time that's being wasted. I feel bad for Brandon. He is so passionate about this. He spent and dedicated a lot of time and effort, and it's cost him a quality of life. And so that's not what we want for this community. That was never the intent. I don't think it was the intent of the Bureau's end of it either. I think that the situation has arisen. We should probably have some dialogue. Maybe they have the opportunity to educate us on the situation and what they can or cannot do at this point, or what they're willing to even do. I don't know that there's been any of that dialogue. So hopefully this opens that up, that they can see that there's a lot of passionate people who would like to have some answers, would like to be a part of the solution. Not everyone's just saying, hey, just go spend your own dollars and make this change. There have been actually some different solutions that have been suggested, maybe donations of different types of plantings so that they can do some kind of ground cover, a lot of different conversations. And I'd also like to point out that Brandon's even taken the time to create a petition. And so he's got a lot of signatures. This is not just something that 3 or 4 people coming to make public comment at the historic preservation meeting. This is actually something that has got a lot of traction. A lot of individuals are very concerned about this, and it does impact the work that you guys are doing. So for all of the effort that you guys are putting forward to make sure that we're all out here doing the right thing, it almost is a slap in the face, because in this particular situation, you guys have dedicated your time and effort, staff has dedicated time and effort, and this is not the look that we are going for in the Historic Preservation District, and it's definitely not the look that people come into town, and as they're coming in, they're looking for the beautiful green grass, that beautiful hill that children played on back in the day that building was built, and now unfortunately we don't have access to that, nor would we want any children to be up there playing at this point in time, and so we've really taken a loss. And so how do we look at making some particular changes, solutions, resolutions? How can we help? There are plenty of people who are willing to donate their time. I realize there's legalities there, but this isn't something that, it doesn't feel like this has to be just a no, go away, and we're all disappointed. I feel like there's middle ground that we could all be meeting, and we just have not been given that option. So looking forward to being a part of that solution. Very happy to be back to present about Main Street for you guys in the future. Great things are happening there. This is a wonderful organization and wonderful people involved. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Davenport. She's actually on our board and has been an excellent contributor to some of the new programming. And so I'm also happy to be part of any kind of promotion of anything that Brandon takes effort in, because he's done a great job in making sure that we've stayed informed in all of this. So thank you very much for this, and happy to come back and present in the future.
Thanks, Jill.
Kathy Dosh, no one answered what year that the rules came about as far as the historical. If I bought my house in 2008, nothing was ever said to me.
We're not supposed to answer your questions, but it was 1983.
Okay, and I really believe, and I love Boulder City. My kids were raised in Boulder City. They've all graduated high school here. But I almost think it's too late to, I don't know how, and I'm not blaming anybody, but I just think the historical district should have been, there should have been some rules a long time ago. Because now, what I've gone, my daughter lives in Minden, and Gardnerville is there, and I've gone to historical districts, and they're beautiful. And when people have been able to take out their lawns or build up some crazy thing, or it's not the same. So I don't know what you got. I wish there was not only telling the realtors, but there has to be some guidelines. And if nothing is, if you're not told until, like Robin, I mean, they've been there 3 years, and all the trouble they had trying to get to do things to their home. And I think nobody ever said a word to me. So I don't understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, my name is Robin Baker, and I don't want to belabor the issue, but I do want to add my voice on 2 issues. Number one is the historic, because I'm historic district, and the expectations of people who buy homes. Because when you buy these homes, it would be easy to take everything out and put everything new in. But if you choose to try to live with your home, I mean, the electricity is an adventure, the plumbing's an adventure, you name it, the house is an adventure, but they have such value. And the green aspect of the historic district is one thing I would like to speak to, because I remember coming, I did not grow up in Boulder City, but I remember coming to Boulder City, and that was one of the beauties of it. It was a little oasis in the desert. And you came to Boulder City, and there was just that unifying concept. And so when we moved into Boulder City a few years ago, we saw the placards on the street that it was a historic district, but they seem to be just placards. And the city does not fully appreciate the beauty of a historic area. But when you put words up, once words are out there, they should have meaning. And so I'm very heartened by this commission that possibly you'll have your moment in time when you can get the momentum to make a change, even, no matter how small it is. We happen to live on the corner of Colorado Street, and so not that our home has lost its value as Brendan's has. And I say that with a very sad heart, because if I lived across from a rock pile, I don't know what I would do. But, you know, for me, the problem is it's to our left. And we spent over a year with dust in the air every single day. Everybody who lived in that area lived in a dirty air. And then to have this pile as our reward for trying to work with a federal agency and develop a compromise between a green area that needed to be watered and self-sustaining area is, in my opinion, a travesty. And I may be vocal, but I'm not very actionable unless it's my own money. But as a citizen and a taxpayer, I do feel this is my own money, and I don't know who signed off on it. I don't know who the final signatory is, but I think there is somewhere at some level within Boulder City, and I apologize because I know everybody has a job and they do their jobs to the best of their ability. But I think that there are people who are accountable, no matter how small their accountability level is, both at our local level, our county level, our state level, and obviously at the federal level. Because I do not believe that it is right or just for us in Boulder City, whoever you are, to have to live with the rock pile. It's going to be 20 years at least before any of those trees ever get to a place where they have any beauty to them at all. And I have walked that area multiple times, and I can attest to the dead and dying vegetation that's in there. And there's no excuse for that. We all know that we have little critters that come and nibble on water lines. And so you have to attend to that when you put things in. So I'm not going to be a very patient individual at that October meeting. We will be back. I'm sorry, ladies and Mr. Baker. We will be back and we will have an opinion, because it should not be left like that. It just absolutely, under no circumstances, should be left like that. And I'm going to become more participatory with Brandon, whether we have to write letters or to whomever we have to write them. But I think everyone who is in Boulder City should want that similar beauty of the small community that is available. And now that I know those benches are so hot and radiate so much heat, I'm furious. But anyway, you ladies and Mr. Baker, have a lovely evening. Thank you so much, and have a good one.
Thank you.
I am furious.
I'm good glad to have you on my side.
Any other comments from the audience? Hearing that there is, sorry.
Carla Sullins. I've owned a house on Denver Street, now live on Birch Street. I love Boulder City. I love the historical value. I'm an educator. I think that's important for our children. And to look at that building, or to not be able to look at that building, is horrible. When I come up that business route of Boulder, the Boulder City Highway, all I see is this big mountain, and it's disgusting. I'm so sad that it got to this point. Something should have been done before that they ended with what they have there, it's not right. I just really hope that something can be done. You can't even see that beautiful building. There's historical value to that, and it's gone. My husband and I had considered buying Brandon's home too when we were on Denver Street, and I am so thankful. We walk this historic district all the time, my husband and I do, and we are just so saddened by what has happened. It's wrong. I don't know, it's a government thing. I know that Boulder City, I don't know what we really can do about it, but I sure hope something can be done because it's disgusting to look at that building. We don't even want to go to the park anymore because of what that looks like. So,
Thank you. All right, seeing that there are no more comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.